So welcome everybody to this webinar on the IFoA accreditation process for universities across Africa. So this webinar is brought to you by the African Actuarial Development Academy and the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. So at the AADA, the African Actuarial Development Academy, we exist to catalyze the development of the actuarial profession across Africa. And we do this across several pillars, including mentorship, tutorials, professional development, and educational development, which is what we are focusing on today. So we have two representatives from the IFoA joining us, which is Irene Redman and Stephen Weldon. So they'll introduce the program and the accreditation process to you and also answer some questions if you have any on the program. And this will be followed by an expert panel of academics from Nigeria and Mauritius who have already attained their IFoA accreditation status, and they'll be sharing their experiences on the process and what it has meant for their universities. This panel will be moderated by Sahib Singh Khosla from Kenya, who himself is both has academic and professional experience. So just some housekeeping. If you do want to ask any questions, please use the Q&A functionality so that your questions don't get lost in the comments and we can keep track of them. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Irene to give her presentation.
There we are. Thank you very much, Yvonne. Greetings to everyone that's here. So let me go and open up this and I will share this. And walk through this window. There we are. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, I will put it into slideshow mode. There we are. Okay. Everyone, this is a presentation that I've put together that covers at a high level IFoA University Accreditation. We can circulate these slides after the webinar for anyone who's interested. So please don't feel that just because you might miss something that you won't see it again. So there are different ways that the IFoA have developed to fast track through to qualification, because our focus is definitely on getting people through to fellowships. So the one we're going to talk about today is the accredited university course or module, sometimes referred to as Route A, but you can see that there's other ways that you can come through non-accredited universities or specialist principal. We also have a way for people to transfer their learning from other actuarial bodies as a portfolio, or if they're already an associate and fellow of other bodies. And I put a QR code here if people want to scan it to find out more on our website. So where you would find it on the website, we've just had a sort of redesigned website, is up on the home, the top bar. You'll see that there's a qualify. You would click through on that qualify, and that will bring you scroll down the page, but it brings you to different aspects about qualifying and maintaining your membership with the IFoA. But exam exemptions is what we will be referring to today, and that's where you would click to find out more. And where that would bring you to, that page that it brings you to, is this one that says accreditation for universities and degree programs. So we have two types of accreditation programs. Stephen Weldon, my colleague here, can also answer more specific programs about it. But basically, they are usually actuarial science, but not necessarily, because it's about what's covered and less about what the title of the degree program is. So there's two ways, subject by subject. And then the other one is on an overall program basis. So it's the advantage for students is achieving an overall grade, but where the students can still achieve exemptions on a subject by subject. So to give you an idea of the ecosystem of IFoA accredited universities, we've broken these down by geographic area, and you can see that although it's only 53 universities, there's actually some universities that have more than one degree program that is covered through their accreditation. And this accreditations have been going on since pre-1999, probably even way before pre-1999, for what we understand, to currently more. And the number of accreditations that universities apply for or have, as you can see, is the axis in the bottom is the number of exemptions that the accredited universities offer. So as you can see, the most common is 49 of the universities have at least have exemptions for 6 IFoA exams. And then you see the next most common is 3 and then 4. So you can see that's sort of the sweet spot for the number of exemptions that universities strive for in accreditation. And when you do get accredited for X number of exemptions, that can change. Perhaps if you add on further things in the future, or perhaps if some things are taken out. But you can see the outliers are the ones on the very sort of extreme ends of the chart. So these are all of the IFoA exams on the associate level. And of those 6 exemptions that most of the universities have, it is the 2 CSs, the 2 CMs, and the 2 CBs. So that's the most common, or some variation thereof. And yes, there are other universities that do have some of these other ones, but it's more of a unique. But the 6 here is where most of the universities focus their accreditation efforts on. For information, there are these are the fellowship examinations. There are some universities that do have exemptions for the specialist principal exams, but no university, it's not our policy that any advanced exam exemption is ever given. That is always an exam that will have to be sat regardless of the pathway the person has chosen. Now, one of the things that is when you talk to universities and talk to various stakeholders is that there's a lot of myths out there about IFoA university accreditation. And I think the big number one is that the university has to have a fully qualified or credentialed actuary, otherwise they could never become accredited. And that is not true at all. And partly because it's about what's being delivered, not necessarily who is delivering it, that it's always got to be delivered by an actuary, but it's the fact that we also recognize to get qualified actuaries to become faculty members is, even in very mature markets, is a very difficult ask. The next one is whether you have to change your curriculum, that you have to totally redesign. And no, it's whatever you want to be accredited for, that's where it needs to not align with the curriculum, because you have to cover that information. This is not a binary decision, yes or no, about whether you are accredited or not. It is a partnership. And what you sign, the contract that you sign with the IFoA is actually called a partnership agreement. So it's working together on this journey in partnership and forming that partnership that we want as a long-term sustainable partnership. And then some organizations have said, oh, we have to choose between SOA, VEEs, or CAT, or all these different things. And no, there are several universities that have a variety of different sort of validations or accreditations. Is in the end, every actuarial association offering international exams, they all follow the same guidelines and syllabus. So how does this thing work? So what is in a nutshell, now a lot of this is covered on the IFoA website. So this is just summarizing it. So what are the basic things that we ask for? And that is of the exemptions that you want, 80% coverage of the IFoA curriculum. It doesn't have to be 100%, but as you can see, at least 80%. The next thing is that all of the panels and committees that will deliver the final decision, they need a full understanding of how this curriculum is delivered. It's one thing to say, oh, we cover it, but how do you bring it to life for the students? So that's how it's delivered, and then how is it assessed? IFoA exams are difficult, and going to university and getting an accredited university and getting exemptions is not the easy way. It's just a different way with equivalence to the IFoA exams. But the university exams and assessments have to be robust and rigorous, technically demanding exams. So they can't be multiple choice exams. because they have to be something that's of the higher order skills. And I'll show you the sort of the Bloom's taxonomy, which probably most educators will be familiar with. Then you have several of the IFoA exams are actually two sets of exams. So there's a sort of a written and a computer language coverage. And that's where it's not, does the university teach to these programs? Does the university examine using these computer languages? And then external examiners reports. One thing we also very much want to see, but we recognize every country is different, is involvement and support of the employers, because they will benefit from the output and the talent coming from the accredited university, but also add to the value and the depth of university offering, but also the local national actuarial society, if one exists, and if it's an active society, because it's bringing the profession into the classroom, shall we say, so that when that student graduates and is eligible for exemptions, or if not, they have had involvement with the profession. They know the profession. And then university support for the career journey and DEI policy. So I was referring to Bloom's taxonomy, which is what most educators will understand of in the level of assessment and delivery of curriculum, where the IFoA focuses on that top of the pyramid, where it's the higher order thinking, complex critical skills, problem solving skills. So not this sort of remember this, memorize that. It builds on that, but it focuses on that higher level of the Bloom's taxonomy pyramid. So one of the things that people also ask is, when you say coverage of the curriculum, 80%, and how is that demonstrated? And that's where we ask universities to map their curriculum against the particular IFoA exam. So I've chosen here an example where you can see, it's an Excel spreadsheet. You can see CS1, and this is where it starts off. Now, this is a screenshot, so I can't scroll down, but you can see where this is what's covered in the syllabus for the IFoA, and this is where we'd like to understand where it's covered in the university courses and curriculum. So this is a big spreadsheet, so you can see for all of these ones, but you would only fill out the ones that you're actually interested in. And this is also a good exercise for universities, because they get to see where they have really good coverage and where the coverage might be as in-depth as they perhaps would want. So how does this take place? I've sort of put this in a flow chart type of thing. Now, all the boxes are the same size, so it looks like they all take the same amount of effort and the same amount of time. And that is not true, because there's detailed submission and information submitted and questions answered and the back and forth. That takes up probably most of the time. The second amount of time that actually takes up time is where the IFoA accreditation manager, Stephen, and the new accreditation panel, they work together with the university on this. So you can see this is part of this partnership, that you're working closer and closer together on this journey as you go through towards accreditation. So once the accreditation is approved for a university, there is an independent external examiner. So that is appointed and paid for by the IFoA, but they are acting as an independent examiner to work directly with the university. So in some ways, the IFoA sort of steps back, because it's the independent external examiner that's working closely with the university. So our fees are for the accreditation is a 5-year accreditation, and then to be renewed after 5 years. So there's 4 principals, up to 4, it's a flat fee, £2,000. And that's for the whole 5 years. That's not per year. That's for the whole of the 5 years. And then any more is £4,000. But again, that's covering the entire time. And then core reading. The standard practice with new universities or new program accreditations is to have a sort of a check-in after the first 2 years. And that's just to make sure everything's going as expected. And the thing is, if some universities, or for whatever reason, choose not to continue on with the accreditation, we do reimburse. But Stephen, you can correct me on this, do reimburse. So it is something that we're trying to work together closely with the university. And how the accreditation or the exemption process works for the students, well, for the grades, well, the university and the students, is those students who begin once it's accredited will be eligible for exemptions once they have completed the program or graduated from the university. So the actual exam grade or mark needed is different from the university exam grade or mark or pass mark. The university, with its own governance, determines a pass mark, but the university and the independent examiner determine the IFoA exemption pass mark, because it's not just passing, it's those students who get the top grades, the top marks, get the exemptions. So that's why you sometimes will find people have gone to an accredited university and they either have very few exemptions or they have no exemptions, albeit that they've graduated. It's because they did pass, but they didn't get high enough grades or high enough marks to actually be eligible for those exemptions. And then the university sends us those who it's been determined are eligible exemptions. They send the list to Stephen, and then when the students apply for it, he checks it against the list. So that's the next thing. So how does it work for the students? So the students graduate, the university board meets, sends Stephen the list of students who are eligible for the exemptions. When they apply for the exemptions as part of their membership, Stephen will check their names against the list. If their names are not on the list, they're asked to go back to the university. It's not for the IFoA to check, go back to the university, for the student to communicate to the university that they need to communicate to the IFoA that they actually are eligible. But it's up to the student's responsibility to ensure that that is done. Students have 5 years from graduation to apply for their exemptions. If they do not apply for those exemptions, they will lose the exemptions. So, but once the exemptions are applied and paid for, they do not expire. They have them for life. So we're really trying to encourage people to, if you're eligible for those exemptions and you can afford it or your employer can afford it, is to pay for them and get them because they won't expire. But we do recognize new graduates not oftentimes walk into paid employment. Exemption fees are discounted by over 30%, so it's also an incentive to not let them expire because you actually get them at a better rate. So that's all that I have for the presentation, but again, we'll be sharing the slides, so I'll stop sharing because we do want to make sure that we can continue on in a timely manner. But thank you very much, and over to Sahib and the moderator.
Thank you, Irene, for taking us through that wonderful presentation. Good afternoon to everyone joining us on the call. My name is Sahib. I'll be moderating the next part of this forum, which is a panel discussion. We have 3 panelists that will be joining me today. We have Professor Ismailia from Nigeria. We have Mr. Jason from Mauritius. And we also have on the panel Mr. Stephen from the IFoA, who is the partnership manager in terms of university accreditation. And I think to set it up, I'll give everyone a very short, maybe 1 minute to introduce yourself. We can start off with Professor Ismailia from Nigeria.
Hello, and good for having me. I'm Professor Ismail Adeleke, the head of Department of Actuarial Science and Insurance at the University of Lagos. The department has a long history of actuarial education and has been committed to producing graduates that are ethically and academically strong and also professionally prepared for the financial sector of the economy. Our program was established in 1970, and we are located in the Faculty of Management Sciences. In our department, we have undergraduate and postgraduate programs up to PhD level. Our program is regulated by the Nigerian University Commission, and we're proud to say that the department is the alma mater to the majority of the Nigerian actuaries. We have good relationship with professional bodies, especially the Nigerian Actuarial Society. We also enjoy cordial relationship with regulators, National Pension Commission, NICOM, and Financial Reporting Council. So in particular, the department achieved a milestone for successful accreditation of our MSc program by the IFoA in 2024. That's it for me for now.
Right. Thank you, Professor, for that very good introduction, both to yourself and to the university's actuarial program. Good to note, 2024 is the date. Moving on to Jason from Mauritius. Briefly introduce yourself and the university's actuarial program. Thank you.
Thank you, Saib. So I'm Jason Nosu from the University of Mauritius. I'm a senior lecturer in actuarial science. I'm also the actuarial accreditation coordinator on the BSc program in actuarial studies. And actually, we've got the exemption back in 2017, but it was not the full back in the time. It was the core technicals. There were 8 core technicals which were exemptable at undergraduate level. So we got the agreement for 7 out of 8 at this time. And then when we transited to the new syllabus in 2019, then we've got, out of the 6, we get all 6 core principal subjects, okay, exempted. And last year we have been reaccredited for another 5 years. So all in all, we've got accreditation status with the IFoA for 11 years. So that's something we are proud of. And to tell you, in terms of student level, our actuarial program is among the top 3 out of the 200 undergraduate program that we offer at the University of Mauritius. So we are very happy about that. So that's it. It will be my pleasure to assist in any queries, questions that will pop up in the meeting today. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Jason. And I think Jason raised a good point there for the audience who has joined us. Please feel free to use the Q&A panel to pose your questions as we go through the discussion. Briefly over to you, Stephen. I'm not certain how long you've been with the IFoA, but we have Jason, whose institution was accredited a long time ago. But nonetheless, a brief introduction from yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Nice to see you. I was at the IFoA when the University of Mauritius first got their accreditation. I've been here quite a while. So as Irene said, yes, my role is partnership manager. So I oversee the arrangements that we have with universities through the whole cycle. So through the application process, through to the appointment of independent examiners. And just to pick up on what Irene said and to reiterate the point that she made, we really do see the application process as a very collaborative one. There are inevitably a lot of forms and things for you to fill in. You'd expect that from an awarding body. But we are aware that the process will throw up queries and questions. And I just want to reiterate that we are committed to working with applicant universities to make sure that you are able to do that along the course of the application. It's not an exam. We know that sometimes it will take longer for universities to respond to any issues that we might raise, and that's fine, because the aim that we all share is to get to an application that we can take to our education committee and make a strong recommendation that it can be approved. So it's just, I'm sure we'll talk later about what's actually involved and the technical aspects, but just to reiterate that we're very keen to work with universities to make sure that we all get to the point that we want to, which is an application that we can all approve, and that will include formal, informal discussions. We really don't mind. We'll provide you with ongoing feedback, but just to say that the outcome is what we're all after, which is the approval of an agreement. And I guess the other thing to say is that we also want to make sure that where there are concerns and problems, we undertake to let you know. We don't like to keep universities waiting if there's a problem that we can't understand and response to. So it's an iterative and ongoing discussion, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Right. Thank you, Stephen, for that very positive introduction to the process and giving confidence to the audience that it is a process, but it isn't an exam. So one which universities can overcome. And that brings me to my first question, which is for our panelists from Nigeria and Mauritius, which is in regards to, you mentioned in your introduction a bit about your program. Maybe categorically, which IFoA exam exemption does your institution have as we currently stand, so that the audience is aware how far you are? So maybe we'll start with Jason.
Yeah, actually we have all 6 out of 6 which are exemptable, as it was rightly said by Irene in the presentation. So we've got CB1, CB2, the core business modules, core statistics, CS1 and CS2, core mathematics, M1 and CM2. And so we've got all 6 out of 6. Yeah.
Excellent. And Professor Ismailia?
Okay. In our department, we have undergraduate and postgraduate program. For now, which is our MSc, which is the postgraduate program that is accredited with the IFoA. And currently, we have 6 of the modules that we have exemption for: CS1, CS2, CM1, CM2, CB1, and CB2.
All right, excellent. So that is quite impressive from both institutions to where you are in terms of the exemption process. Now, in terms of your experience to get to this point, and Jason, this is to you, how did the university identify which of the exemption accreditations you were going to pursue or you were suitable for?
Actually, this program was launched in 2011, 2012. In that academic year. And my colleagues did a very good job, because I joined the University of Mauritius in 2013 as a part-time lecturer, and then full-time in 2014. So my colleagues made they went the process of developing the program. And from what I understand, the idea behind this was to get accredited by the IFoA. So each and every component of the program was meant to fulfill the requirements of the IFoA. So to reply to your question, which are the modules that we targeted? It was every module which is exemptable at the undergraduate level. This was our aim, our goal. This was actually the rationale behind developing that program back in 2011, 2012. So it has been a journey. I love this word because it was rightly that this which describes best the process with the IFoA. As Mr. Weldon rightly said, it was a journey. We got advice, the assistance of Mr. Weldon. I must tell it here. He has been a pivotal, point, a focal point in this process. Has always been helping us, assisting us, and we have had so many queries over the years. So I think this has been crucial in the process, in the journey, and so that's it. I don't know whether this is okay, Sahib.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. And over to you, Professor. In terms of your experience, has it been similar? What basically is how did your institution identify which are the accreditations that were suitable?
Yes, going through the accreditation timeline, we actually started the process in 2017, and our intention was to have the 2 programs accredited, but we found that it was easier to start with the postgraduate program. In the year 2020, we formally reached out to IFoA, and we were properly guided. Stephen was very helpful. We got the process right, and then we noticed that for the postgraduate program, unlike the undergraduate, the curriculum is very flexible, and we could easily adapt our curriculum to ensure that the requirements of IFoA are met. So we follow this process before we could get the university management to approve the curriculum. So we started by systematically mapping our curriculum against that of the IFoA, and we are always, seeking advice of the IFoA team. And at a point, we had to involve the professionals, especially the Nigerian Actuarial Society, in framing up the curriculum, and also getting support for the actuarial computing and bringing case studies to the program. So it demonstrates that IFoA is not just about the accreditation, but it's about the partnership. To us, it's been a very good journey. We have actually started the process of getting the undergraduate accreditation. So we hope very soon, because we are lucky. The enrollment rate is very high. As of today, we have over 700 students at the undergraduate level, and the employer are eagerly waiting for us to secure this accreditation. And even the regulators are also looking forward to this, because this will be a very good pipeline for the much needed actuaries in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ismailia. Now, the next question, and I'll pose this to you, Stephen, but in the perspective of you are the recipient at your office and at the institution level of, well, applications from both the universities on the call and other universities, what do you see are the key challenges for these institutions in preparing and submitting their applications? I suppose there'd be many, but maybe you can highlight three key challenges that you see come through in these applications.
Yeah, sure. I guess, as Irene outlined in her presentation, the point of the application process that tends to take the longest is, for want of a better word, the technical review of material. So if you're asking me to list three key things, I would say sometimes the computer elements of the CS and CM subjects can be difficult for universities in their initial submission to work out how to respond to that. For programs that are completely new, it can sometimes take them a while to prepare sample questions for exams, which, as Irene says, is a key thing that we need. And we do recognise that if a BSc programme, for example, hasn't run yet, it may be that some of the exam papers aren't actually ready yet, particularly for modules delivered in the second and third years. So we don't request a full copy of every exam paper if that's not possible, but we will ask for a set of sample questions to map to the subject that they want exemption from, to enable us to gauge the extent to which those questions are of an equivalent standard. And I guess the third one would be linked to that, and that would be around any queries about module content, because every university, in my experience, does module descriptors slightly differently. And we don't have a vision in mind of what we're expecting in terms of presentation of it. But what the experts who look at this will want to know is, what is the plan for teaching this? How will students actually develop the learning that they need? What education interventions will they be receiving on the road to that? So I guess all those are kind of elements of that main thing we've talked about, which is the actual content of what's the program look like. Those are three things that come up quite regularly that we actually end up having to talk to universities about at that stage.
All right, thanks, Stephen. And maybe relatedly, although I'm not certain it would be applicable for the two countries we have panelists from, which is Mauritius and Nigeria, but language. And maybe, I don't know if you faced this during the accreditation process where language plays a part. Any comments there? Because we do have audience members that may be joining from Francophone Africa or other parts of the world.
So we do have agreements with a small number of universities who do not teach an exam in English. In those instances, we do request that in order for us to do the checking annually that I mentioned, that we receive copies of the exam papers that are translated, so that we can continue that oversight that we mentioned. But I mean, the majority of our universities do teach in English, but it's not an absolute necessity. We recognise that not all will.
All right, thank you for that. Professor, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Stephen.
Sorry, it sparked another response to your earlier question. Sorry, I'm going to give you 4 things, but I think it's worth mentioning. I think it's very important at the outset of an application for all parties to be aware and to be assured that the university programme is able to provide the information that we require once a programme has received accreditation. And in that, what I'm talking about is the standard information that our independent examiners require, which is draft copies of exam papers before they're set so that they can comment and make any changes required, and copies of student marks at the end of every academic year. I say that because in some instances, universities haven't always been, the programme team might have been aware of that, but the administration sometimes hasn't been. And we've learnt over the years that it's important to have that conversation early to make sure that everybody is aware of what's required once an agreement's been put in place.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. And in many ways, you touched to my next question, which is that once we are, accredited, and for Jason and Professor Ismail, in terms of the internal measures you at the department and maybe at the university level, have been taking to maintain the quality that's required and the alignment to the IFoA. So maybe we can get a comment from Professor first.
Yes. So we have been able to discover that documentation is an integral part of the whole quality assurance. The university may be doing excellent work, but if it's not properly documented, it will be difficult for the professional body to assess. So the major challenge that we have been facing is that providing convincing evidence that the material was well taught and and it makes the quality that is required. But the process starts with identifying the gaps in the curriculum and see if that can be easily covered. And then, of course, you have to carry the management of the university and the staff of the department along. They have to agree. That is the way to go. The learning outcome of courses must align perfectly with that of the IFoA. The teaching and the learning strategies will have to also be looked at. Student performance and other quality assurance also be looking to and ensure that they all met the minimum requirements of IFoA. So these are all the things that we have to look at to ensure that we are in the right track and we are good with IFoA.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. And same question to you, Jason, but maybe in the context of I would believe that the basics that the professor is speaking about is the same steps you would take. Maybe you can speak to any challenges to ensure you continue making this alignment to the IFO requirements. So this is more to do with your internal operational processes and any challenges that really arise during that process.
Actually, it's good to say that, like when we launched the program, and as Mr. Weldon rightly said, we have had to provide some sample questions, etc. So at that time, we have had to have on board people from the industry who are, qualified actuaries. And at that time, there were less than 10 in Mauritius, less than 10 qualified actuaries in Mauritius. So it was difficult to have these people on board. But fortunately, we've been able to get at least one, and that person has helped us to get to the level which is required by the FOA. Now, in terms of implementation, we have had to get on board part-time lecturers, part-time staff, because we don't have any fully qualified, IFOA actuary among our staff. So and how to get, the qualified person, and also how to maintain quality. As you said, something is very, very important. At University of Mauritius, we have an internal moderation. So for every set of assessment, whether it be class tests or, the assignment, the exam papers, it is moderated at the level of, the department first. Then it goes to a second level. It may go to the external examiner of the program. And then in a third instance, it will go to the independent examiner who is appointed by the IFOA. And then, it's crucial to ensure that all comments that are being done by the independent examiner, external examiner, and even the internal moderator are taken on board, because this will help converge to the standard which is, pitched by the IFOA. So this is a very important, process which needs to be set up, to ensure quality. This is one thing. And secondly, getting on board, it's not only quality. I don't know whether it may be, it may be, just for putting a tick next to each and every topic which needs to be covered for the IFOA, syllabus. But it's very important to have the local society, actuarial people, practitioners, to be very closely linked to our university. At our university, we have been able to set up an actuarial society for students and alumni. So they regularly meet around events, talks, CBD events, So this is important to keep, to keep us, up to date to what is, is being updated by the IFOA standards. So that's it, Sahib. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. And my next question is almost, it touches on three pillars. So you'd expect that this accreditation has brought impact and positive impact in the same to your student body, to your faculty, and to potential employers that engage with the university. So maybe some comments on those three facets. Professor, we could begin with you, given that your program accreditation journey started not that long ago and you are now accredited. So how has the impact been for the students, for the faculty, and for employer engagement?
Yes, thank you for the question. The impact have been significant, even though we are 2 years into that journey. For the university, it has enhanced the reputation of the university in the area of actuarial education. Our curriculum improved, tremendously, and the curriculum meets the needs of the industry, and also, of course, it meets the need of the professional body, the IFOA. It has also enhanced the employability of our students. So you see most of the employer, requesting for our, graduate. And then I must say that the very first set I got the exemption, all of them, secured employment before, we concluded, their graduation. So that's very significant for us, and we are very happy for that. That's also increased the attractiveness and credibility of the program. Students and their parents are increasingly, recognizing the value from our department. And for faculty members, we have seen the need to create this strong culture for continuous improvement. In fact, many of the faculty members have taken it upon themselves to earn, actual professional certification in the next few years, and this is a good development for us. And also to the regulators and the employer, we've had very good relationship, and all is coming because of this accreditation that we have secured. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Jason, given the longer duration, what is the impact? Is it more amplified? Maybe you can share your thoughts.
First of all, I would concur with Professor in the fact that, students over the years, throughout the past decade, even before, concluding with the graduation, they have a firm position offer, from industries. So this is something which is quite notable with this program. So at the level of the student, we have so many fully qualified actuaries now who are among our alumni, so many, yeah. So that's a very good thing. And at the level of the university also, we are very proud because we are a small country. We are a small university relatively compared to other universities. We are a small university in a small country. But last year we have had the visit of the president of the IFoA, thanks to to this agreement, and this is something that we are proud of. And even I've got a shield from the president, from the hands of the president. It is in my office, so I'm happy about that. So this is tangible impact, and at the level of the country, I must say that we had at that time, some 10 years back, only one consulting firm in Mauritius, only one. It was AON, the one who was on the Manchester United jersey. So, and now we have more than a dozen, and even, insurance companies in Mauritius, at that time, they were outsourcing the actuarial duties to companies abroad, to consulting firm abroad. Now they have in-house actuaries, and most of them are from our alumni group. So it has had a national impact. And now today, we must say that we have actuarial some years back. It wasn't known by HR departments. They were not, knowledgeable about what is actuarial. Now, actuarial is one of the flagship program at the University of Mauritius. And one of the thing I would like to add, impact-wise, is we have so many of our past students working together with us as part-time lecturers. So many. So I think they say they are giving to the university what they have received from the university. So in terms of tangible impacts, it has been at so many levels. So that's why I think, if I may, I would encourage every university representative who are here to go through this process, because the impact is not only individual wise, it is university wise, even country-wise, even regional, because we have many African students coming to the University of Mauritius to do the actuarial. I think the professor would concur with me. We have many African students coming to our universities for the actuarial program. That's it, Sahib. Thank you.
Excellent, and thank you for sharing. And I think a point to take home, which stands out given the longevity of the program at the University of Mauritius, is the use of the local talent in the local market. I know, Professor, especially in the history, there's been a lot of what I'd consider brain drain, and qualified members leaving the economy. But I think as employer relations increase with all the positive impact of the accreditation, you'll see more of the actuaries retained in the market, and possibly many also coming to teach part-time as they do in Mauritius. So quite some positives there in terms of the impact of the accreditation from both institutions across the continent. A bit of housekeeping in terms of the audience. I know there has been some guidance in terms of how to pose in the Q&A. Hopefully we are able to. There has been one question, which I know we have a question and answer session coming up, but I'll just take it now, given that it's quite applicable to the discussion we've just had with Jason. So it's specifically to you, Jason, for your university. And the question which comes from the audience is that the 6 courses that are accredited in the university, is it for the undergraduate program or is it for the postgraduate program?
It is for the undergraduate program, and setting apart the dissertation module, the IFoA subjects, the UOM, the University of Mauritius modules, which are mapped onto the IFoA subjects, they are 14. So 14 university modules mapping onto the IFoA, the 6 IFoA subjects. So it represents around 80% of our taught modules. Just to tell you that the program is significantly linked to what the IFoA requires, but it is at the undergraduate level. Yeah.
Thank you, Jason. And that question was by William, so I hope you have been answered well. Again, for housekeeping, please let's keep the questions coming. Ideally, use the Q&A forum, but given that we have not that many people that are on the session, we can also just read through the chat. I don't mind doing that if that's easier for you. So feel free to use any of the available tools to pose your questions. Finally, and this is now forward-looking, we've listened to our speakers talk about what the universities have achieved and what impact it's had. If we are looking ahead, and we have other universities in the room, I've seen in the chat, we have universities from Kenya, we have those from Francophone, so we have from various parts of the continent. What advice would you give to these universities who are considering or just beginning their IFoA accreditation journey? Before we get thoughts from Jason and Ismail, maybe Stephen, you're the one they're all coming to. What advice are you giving them so that they feel very, very encouraged after this discussion to start, if they have not?
I would say have a look at the requirements that we've outlined. Have a look, if you haven't done already, at the syllabuses of the subjects that you feel you would want to include in an agreement. We can send you the spreadsheet that Irene referred to at the outset, which will enable you to judge for yourselves how close you think you are to being able to demonstrate 80% coverage. And if you've got any questions, get in touch. And I guess the other thing, just to pick up on Jason's point earlier, is, as Irene said, it's not an absolute requirement for a qualified actuary to be on the staff. We recognise that that's really, really difficult to do. But just to bolster Jason's point, the more that you can include actuaries working in the field in the development and delivery of the programme, the better. Because A, that will help ensure that coverage of the syllabus is more assured, and students really like it. Students really benefit from hearing from people doing the job, and so the more that you can encourage that, the better. That's what I'd say.
Excellent, Stephen. Maybe the experiences from we've heard of course, many details, Jason and Professor, in terms of the programs. But what would your advice be? Maybe, in one sentence, what would your advice be to universities here in the room that want to get onto the accreditation journey?
My advice would be that the universities shouldn't take the accreditation as a paperwork exercise. They should see it as a partnership to developing their curriculum and also making their graduates more employable and acceptable by the employer. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Jason?
I would concur with what has been said, and it is a partnership. So I will reiterate what I said is don't hesitate to come to Mr. Weldon, and that's I think this is a very important aspect of it. So to know where you are and where you are heading to. And I think the external examiner also, the choice of the external examiner is quite important also here, because that external examiner may help, if you get someone who is already linked to the IFoA, it's a good thing. I think it was the case for us also, Professor Pitt from Macquarie. So this was a very good thing for us. So I think these are things that they may consider when going into this journey. Yeah.
Excellent. And I, of course, taking a wide assumption here that Professor and Jason, your communication channels are open should our brothers and sisters from across the continent need to reach out and have an informal chat with you, just to get the confidence or some insight before they reach out to Stephen and the team over at the IFoA. So I'll just put that out there, that's open. And I am now looking at the Q&A section of the Teams app. I'm not seeing any questions. So I am going to ask for guidance here from AADA in terms of do the participants have the ability to unmute and ask us questions if there are any, or should we wait for them to type in the chat?
I think we've got a couple of minutes, so maybe we can take one or two if people are more minded to speak rather than type. And I think we can unmute them if they raise their hands. I think I can see how to allow mics. So if you indicate if you have I think you can raise hands. So if you've got a question and you want to speak, please do raise your hands and we will enable your mic.
Right, thank you, Yeside. So for the audience, this is your opportunity. If you have any question for the panelists, also for Irene, she took us through the presentation. It's an open session. We have a few minutes for. I think the panel is very comfortable that they have communicated very clearly to the audience that there are no questions. There is no ambiguity left, which is very positive, always to take. So yeah, I'll just pass it back to, sorry, I see.
We see one. Oh, it's Irene.
Yeah,
Irene has a question.
Yes, Irene.
No, what I was going to say is that we will be circulating, as I said, not only the slides that I showed, but also Stephen's email address so people can communicate with him, but also too is a recording of the session. So just in case if for whatever reason people had to leave or were not able to attend, we will have the recording of the session so that it would be available for. So thank you, Yeside.
I've got a question, because this was asked and I thought somebody would ask it here. There was a question asked a while ago to say, they've noticed that some of the past question papers on the IFoA are no longer available if you don't have a membership. It used to be freely available. And I think that was part of what we know we are not supposed to use the past questions to set questions, but it's good to help students, to guide them on what the good looks like and to practice. Do you guys, is that what is happening? Yeah. Yeah, I can see Stephen's hand to answer.
Sorry, I'm trying to lower my hand. Yeah, you're right. The past exam papers are now on our VLE, so they're not open to the general public. What we are able to do for universities who are making an application is to make a sample of previous exam questions available to those universities so they can see the sort of thing that we're looking for.
And if I could add to Stephen's, we also encourage university faculty to become affiliates of the IFoA, because then it's a level of membership where it's open to those people who are not actuaries themselves, but are involved with or supportive of the actuarial profession. And it's £100 a year currently, but it does give you all the access to everything in the IFoA, including, as Stephen referred to, the virtual learning environment, the VLE, which is sort of like an ActiveView with lots of videos and lots of resources that are helpful for educators in their journey to develop their courses and for their students. So, and there's also an e-library of different journals and different books. So there's a lot of different resources that are available in that affiliate membership. Thanks.
And Irene, as part of the Oliver Twist gang, can I ask, is there any discounts for people in Africa as well on the affiliate program? Because our lecturers are not, some of our lecturers are not well. The remuneration is not the same as the UK. I'll put it like that.
The affiliate is already a heavily discounted program. So currently it's a heavily discounted program, but that's something that we can take a look at, that if we have enough demand from universities, that we could look for the offering, especially accredited universities, that we could look at the offering of how that would better meet the needs.
Great, thank you very much. That's super much appreciated, because I think it's very much appreciated.
Yeah.
I still can't see. I'm just checking. I can't see any questions, any Q&A.
There was one question that it might be good to repeat. It's in the Q&A. It's just come in about 3 minutes ago.
Okay.
So that's can the panel see this question?
Yes, thanks, Irene. I have now seen it. And yeah, I think the question that was asked, if I'm not wrong, by Shaheen is, and this goes to Jason and Ismail in terms of the accredited universities, what did you do for professional involvement in the course if you didn't have qualified actuaries in the teaching faculty?
Okay, should I go first?
Yes, please, Professor.
Yes. Currently, we have an MOU with NAS, that's the University of Lagos, and Nigerian Natural Society. NAS have committed to making sure that at any point in time, we have minimum of qualified actuaries, participating on the program. So, and NAS have, been fulfilling that. As of today, we have 5 qualified actuaries participating in our program. Even on the undergraduate program that we are still expecting the outcome of the accreditation, they are already participating in it. So, thank you.
Thanks. Yes, Jason.
Yeah, actually, the course being fully accredited is a good thing for the industries. So they don't need to to seek for qualified actuaries or actual students from abroad, and actually they have these talents locally. So it's a win-win situation, and actually the qualified actuaries from the industries, they reach out to us in some way. First of all, to help, training the new actuaries, but on the other way around, they are also benefiting in the sense that they are able to get in touch with the good students. At the end of the day, they want to recruit the best ones, because as we have seen in the slides, not all the students who are enrolled on our programs will get, exemptions. So only the best ones. So the industries are there to attract the best ones. And for our course, we also have an MOU. We actually have two companies which award our best students with a trophy and a cash prize. Why they do so? Because they want to have the best ones at their, in their positions. Even for internships, they offer firm, internship positions every year. So this, why? Because they want to benefit from the program, because we have so many demand now on the job market. So, and the supply is quite limited. So they want to get the best one. So at the end of the day, you will see that it won't be us universities going to the industry. At some point in time, they will be coming to you to get the best students, because they want the local talents, first of all. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. And Shaheen, if I may add, it's really what our panelists are speaking about is stakeholder engagement. So even with employers or factories, any sort of engagement from the university does lead to these partnerships that can involve also professionals within those employers coming over and maybe giving some master classes or some sort of involvement. So it's all goes down to the university's drive to try to create those links and those partnerships. Thank you. I take note there were some other questions in the Q&A, but yes, I see also that Stephen has responded to all of those, and I believe they have been well appreciated and well received. I think we've come to the end of the Q&A session. I'll hand over back to Yeside at the AADA for the next steps. Thank you very much. And thank you to the panel for your great engagement. And I'm certain the audience has received well the message that you have shared. Thank you.
Thanks, Sahib. I'm going to just share my screen, so give me a few minutes. I'm going to share my screen so I can talk you through the rest of the other activities that are currently being planned. So give me a second. Let's see. Can you see my screen? I can't see
Yes.
while I see my screen. Just FYI, I'm on a single screen today. Okay, so I'm going to run through a couple of a few announcements of other activities that are coming up that you might want to participate in. I will mention, I should have mentioned, AADA also has an education pillar where we do work with universities to help them accredited. So please do reach out if you'd like us to help guide or provide some support. If you want to have a discussion before you talk to Stephen or are feeling shy or whatever, we're here to help if needed. So we're working with the IFoA. We've done the university's accreditation. So next week, we are going to be having a webinar on the Chartered Actuary journey. So talking about the IFoA pathway. This is in continuation of our series where we've spoken to a couple of examining bodies, and we've discussed their pathways. So on the 19th of August, the IFoA, Irene will be back with us talking about the IFoA pathway. Please scan the QR code and join us for that session. Next, we have a group mentorship session, which is for 15 people. It's Breaking Barriers, Building Futures. It's scheduled on the 25th of August. There are only 15 slots available, and the deadline for application is the 14th of August. So if you'd like to be part of this group mentorship session with John Robinson, who is I think he's the first Black president of the SOA, if I'm right. I think he's a past president of the SOA. He's given us some of his time. So it might be something that's good for your students, because I think it's not for lecturers at this point in time. Then AADA is committed to doing things in English and in French. So we're also having a French group mentoring session. If there's anybody here with a French leaning, please do pass it on to your students. It's on the 24th of August as well. Next, we have a student success program. This is ADA's program, which we put together to help students in their journey and trying to help them pass exams. So we're currently doing one with the SOA for exam P with people sitting the exam between the next month, between the 10th and the 21st of September. We have been running a program for about 12 weeks now, but we are going to open up 2 revision dates to the public, so that if you are registered to sit the exam P exam between the 10th and the 21st of September, please do apply and join us, and you can take part in a free revision session. Other than that, we also have the CAS has offered us some licenses. So there's an actual essentials program, which will run you through some of the basics of PNC actual concepts. It will be mentor led. It will be 6 weeks. Just watch our LinkedIn page for details of that when that comes up. That will be soon. Yes, I think, oh, sorry, I haven't updated this one. I think I've said most of this. I think the only other thing that I hadn't said on this before was we will also be doing an ASA pathway, and the ASA pathway, we are looking at that for tentatively October, but we'll do some more communications around that. ADA does have an ADA Connect community, so please do scan the QR code, join our WhatsApp group. There are loads of subgroups there. Please do join us. If you're a lecturer, when we are doing things relating to this, you will find it come out both on our LinkedIn group and on our WhatsApp community. So please do join and be able to interact with other educators across Africa, and you might be able to share your experiences as you go along and find people who are in a similar state to you, and you can share and collaborate together. And then lastly, just our pages to reach out and talk to us, contact at ada.africa, our website, and our LinkedIn page. A recording of this will go onto our YouTube page once it's done. So, and you can also find other recordings on YouTube as well, sessions that I've held in the past. So that is it in terms of upcoming other activities. So please do, I think we are almost done. Just to say, Irene, any last comments?
No, is that do not hesitate to ask anyone who's on this presentation or ADA, our ADA colleagues, if there's any questions, because no question is too small or too silly. It's all important to improve the understanding of what, as we've heard from Jason and from Professor Adeleke, can be an amazing sort of win-win situation for everyone. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing some of you on the webinar next week, where we discuss the IFoA pathway in detail. And please do come with any questions you might have. I know you're going to do the accreditation, but it's good to understand all the various levels, what next, anything, what happens afterwards, CT, CA, CS, all the various acronyms. Please come. So thank you very much. And we will close the meeting. Thank you so much to everybody. Thank you very much for your participation throughout.
Thank you. Wait, Sahib, did you want to say anything? Oh, he's saying, yeah.
think he's just clapping.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
Thank you for
Bye.
having
Thank
us.
you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Irene, I think you can end
Yep.
the event.
Yep,
Okay,
yep. I
we'll
was
do
just
that now.
just